Hello everyone, I'm Paul and welcome to Gellin Outdoors. I've had requests on how I clean my chainsaws, so I thought I'd show you that here today. How I clean my saws and keep them good looking for many years to come. So what I'm going to do is I'll bring you in a bit closer to get started and show you what I'm going to take off of the saw. I'm going to remove the scabbard. I'm going to be taking off the bar and chain. I'm going to take off the clutch cover. I'm going to pull the choke out and I'm going to remove the air filter cover. I'm going to remove the cylinder cover. On the back side here, I'm going to take off the flywheel cover as well. So just give me a couple of minutes and I'll come right back with the saw all stripped down. Okay guys, I've got the saw all apart, so let's take a look at all the dirty parts. Let's start with the engine itself. And you can see here on the flywheel, all the dirt and debris in there that's around the spring here, all the darkness in there. On the other side, you get a little bit of dirt around the air filter. I'm not sure if you can see inside where the cylinder fins are. It's dirty in there. And then on the other side where the chain and the bar go, you can see it's pretty gummed up there. If we look at around the air filter is fairly clean. Let's take a look at all the parts I've removed. Here we've got the flywheel cover parts. You can see it's fairly dirty. And then we have the air filter cover. It's fairly dirty as well. And the one that's really gummed up is the clutch cover. As you can see, not too bad on the one side, but the inside is very dirty. We have the cylinder cover. You can see it's got quite a bit of dirt on it, and then you can see our bar and chain is fairly dirty itself. Now there's something as well, that an area, and I'll show you that later, that most of you out there are not aware of, and I haven't shown you that. It's going to be a very dirty spot on your saw and very important to clean it. So you have to stick around to the end of the video to see what I'm talking about. So the tools that I use to clean my saw, I use an air compressor, use a nozzle for the air compressor, and the only fluid that I use on my saw is Lysol. Now, I'm not sponsored by Lysol, I just found that this works best for me. When I'm using Lysol though, what I do is I spray it on and leave it sit for a couple minutes to wipe all the grime and the debris that's on the saw. So let's get started on how I actually do the cleaning. So let's get some parts cleaned up. So all I do is just blow the parts off with lots of air. Oh, one thing I forgot, guys. I usually put some safety glasses on. Helps to keep the debris out of my eyes. My regular glasses don't do a good job at that. So anyways, let's get some of the stuff blown out. Here we've got the flywheel cover. Now the important thing, guys, as well, is when I'm cleaning all this stuff, is that I do this after every use of my saw. If I don't do it often, then the stuff just gets gummed up so bad in some cases that you can't remove some of the stuff. So it's up to you how often you clean your saw. I prefer to clean mine after every usage, so it's a lot of extra work, but it's well worth it. So here we've got the air filter cover. And we've got the cylinder head cover, or the cylinder cover. And now I'm going to go on to the bar and chain. I actually cleaned the chain fairly thorough. And what I do normally when I do the chain is I kind of roll it up. Just makes it a little easier. And I blow all the dirt off. Okay, that's the first part for the chain. The second part for the chain, what I do is I wipe it down with a rag. Get it as clean as I can so nothing is gummed up on it. And as you can well imagine, using the air in the rag, what I'm doing is I'm taking all the lubricant off. So what I do is I have a container, I put the chain in, and I put a little bit of bar oil. Now the bar oil that I use is light, a very light oil. And I just pour a little bit of it on, as you can see there. And I just get my chain in there, work my chain a little bit, as you can see. So my chain is nice and lubricated. Now one thing as well I just want to mention about light chainsaw bar oil. Light chainsaw bar oil is normally used during colder time of the year or colder seasons. Also, if you cut resinous woods such as pine or spruce, where it's really gummy and stuff like that, use the light bar oil instead of your regular summer oil. It's going to help not have the saw bog up in there. I've had chainsaws cutting, and as soon as I let go of the throttle, it's all gummed up. I find using the lighter bar oil is much better than using the regular summer oil. Anyways, the next part I'm going to clean up is the bar. You can see here as well, just beside the bar, I've got a bunch of nuts and bolts. That's what I've taken off the saw. They're just sticking on a magnet. Here on the bar, what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean the groove on both sides. I'm going to use air. You can also use something nice and thin. You can use like a feeler gauge, clean down inside, down in the groove if you don't have any air to do it. Now the important thing is also to clean these little holes here where the oil actually comes through from the saw and then lubricates on your chain. Now there's going to be one on each side. You can see one here. This one here is all plugged. This one here is all plugged up. Also, there may be a hole down here at the end of your bar. Some bars have a place to lubricate. I'm going to blow air in there and get that all cleaned out. We'll see here in a second now. So let's get the bar cleaned up. So I'm going to clean the grooves. And do the other side. Clean the outside of the bar. And I'm going to clean the holes for the oil. And then I'm going to do the hole for the sprocket. I'm going to do it on both sides. And then I'm going to clean the sprocket. You should hear that twirling. Just give me 1 second here. Okay, so that's all cleaned up with air. So my bar, I look down to make sure that I got all the debris or the oil and the guck out of there. So that now the next thing I need to do is wipe the bar up with a cloth. Just give it a wipe down. And once I've finished that, first thing I do to make sure that I don't forget is I oil my tip, or I grease my tip rather. I give it a squirt. You can see it coming out. And then I give a squirt on the other side as well. So now I'll just turn my sprocket with my hand just to make sure there's a lot of lubricant in there. And then I'll just wipe that up. So now I've got all my covers without any air on them. Or I've got all my covers cleaned up as far as air goes. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use my Lysol. And what I'm going to do is just going to spray them all on both sides. And I'm just going to leave them sit, and I'll come back and clean all the parts up with a rag. So I'll leave that sit for a couple of minutes while that's soaking a little bit. What I'm going to do is going to take the main part of the saw and I'm going to blow air and I'm going to clean it all up. I'm going to make sure that I get in here where the cylinder fins are. You can see here, you can see the debris in there that gets caught in there, and the worst thing about all the dirt inside your saw is heat, and heat is your enemy to your saw. And to clean the flywheel here, you can see quite a bit of dirt around the spring. Now I'm going to clean around the air filter, and I'm going to leave the air filter on until I'm finished cleaning. And the air filter, before I take it off, I'm just going to blow the air on the side of it like this. I'm not going to blow directly on it. And then I'm going to pull the air filter off. And I'm going to set, what I'm going to do is, this one here comes apart. So I'm going to pull it apart. Just need a tool to do it. Some you can take apart in half like I'm going to do here. And you can see inside it's nice and clean. What I'm going to do is I'm going to blow the air from the inside now. And you don't want to have a real lot of pressure. You don't want to have tons of pressure here. You just want it fairly light. You don't want to damage your filter. And I'm going to do the same thing with the other side. Put this one down. Whoop, don't want to be dropping it like that. So it's going to clean it. Make this all clean. And then I'm going to put it back together. And I'm just going to clean a little bit more on the outside. Okay, so then next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to clean around here, because the filter does cover some of the access points for getting air in there. The next thing that I do, after I've got all my saw blown out, I'm going to take off the spark plug. I've got all my nuts here. Take off the boot. I'm going to pull out the spark plug, and I'm just going to wipe it up with a rag. And at the same time, I can see how my spark plug looks as far as condition wise. But I'm just going to take it, I'm going to wipe it up with a rag, get it all cleaned up. Blow a little air on it. And what I normally do is, since I have it out, I use a feeler gauge and I'll check the gap of the spark plug. I did yesterday, so I know it's fine. So then I reinsert it. So the next thing that I do is I go back to my parts that I've taken off of this saw, and I'm just going to wipe them down. And you can see here this little bit of grime. I'm just going to wipe all that up. So I'm just trying to go a little bit quicker here. Normally I'll take a little bit more time on each part, and I'll clean everything thoroughly. I'm just trying to keep the video to a shorter length, just so that you can understand kind of what I do. You can see all the dirt here. I just kind of can wipe it up now. Now the important thing here is on the flywheel. Oh, make sure I put my air filter back on. In my choke, you notice it's still out. On the flywheel, you can see how it's kind of all browned up. What I do is I'll take a rag and I'll soak it up a little bit with the Lysol, and I'll just wipe in here. I'll wipe up every fin and all the area in here. You can see how it's starting to come cleaner now. Hopefully you can see I got shadowing from the sun. Maybe I lie it down this way. You can see how the fin here is really dirty. I'll put the rag in and I'll try and wipe it clean as I can get it. See, that fin is a little bit cleaner. And basically what I'm going to do is going to go all around and clean all the different fins. So after I've got everything cleaned up, I'll wipe all this here. I'll put my saw all back together. So that brings us to the one area of the chainsaw that I did not show you yet that is very important to clean, and I'm going to show you this on my other saw here. It's a little bit easier to show you. Let's take a quick look here. So I'm just going to take off the bar nuts. I'm going to find my wrench. I'll take the bar nuts off. Got everything fairly loose already anyways. I still need that wrench. Take the clutch cover and the chain in the bar. So as you can see here, this looks, I did a good job, or a fairly decent job. It's not quite clean, but it needs to be wiped up a little bit more. So you might think you've done a good job and everything looks great, but a couple of things here. One, it's going to get a tool here to take this apart. On this particular saw, there's a couple bolts here. I'm going to take this off. I'm going to show you. You take this plate off, and you're going to see what's underneath that plate here in a minute. I know the suspense is driving you crazy, but I'm trying to work as fast as I can. So take off the chain catch. I've got 1, 2, 3 here. Got one more here. I'm going to take that cover off. Well, I forgot to take this off here first. The little bumpers. And actually underneath these little bumpers here, there's usually a lot of debris underneath them. I clean underneath there as well. There's 2 bumpers. I'll just take both bumpers off. And now we can take off this plate. Now take a look at that, guys. Is that a surprise or what? So this is only from a little bit of, time of usage. Hasn't been cleaned, but you can see how it's all gummed up. It looks pretty bad. So this is something that I'm sure most of you guys are out there are not aware of that at all. It's very important to get this all cleaned up. There's a lot of important components working here. So anyways, guys, I'll take the time after to finish cleaning my saw up. I just thought I'd show you kind of how I do it or what I do. And that'll be it for today. So hopefully that helped some of you, and hopefully you guys, if you're not aware of the last piece that I showed you, that you get in there as soon as you can and get that all cleaned up. So other than that, guys, appreciate you for stopping by. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you've subscribed already, I really appreciate that. If you haven't, please do so by hitting the subscribe button down below. It's free for subscriptions. And once again, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on Gellin' Outdoors.